Lovely to see you all, and great if you're watching online. Because I've got the mic. Jack, Abby, hello. My son and his new bride are living in Bristol, and I just want to say hello to them. Normally he'd be helping on the tech team. So, hey guys, why don't you turn around and give them a wave? That's weird, you don't know who they are. He just messaged me saying he was going to be watching it online, so he's probably turned off now, I would think. So, well, it's great to see you all this morning, and thank you so much for joining. Thank you, band, for an amazing opportunity just to sing together and celebrate. Hark, the herald angels sing. Glory to the newborn King. Peace on earth and mercy mild. God and sinners reconciled. I don't know if this is a appropriate word for church, but it's a banger, isn't it, that one? It really is. We've sung it already. It's one of my favorite Christmas carols. And Mercy and Tim, thank you so much for your presentation of the biblical stories, or some of the biblical stories revolving around Christmas. You know, that reading from John 1, you know, the word, God himself has made himself flesh and is dwelling amongst us. You might have heard the word Emmanuel. That means God with us. But this morning I just want to take a few moments just to reflect on, well, the last reading that you guys did, which is from St. Luke's Gospel, Luke chapter 2, really focusing in on the shepherds. And that carol that I quoted, Hark the Herald Angels Sing, that's what it's referring to. It's referring to that amazing scene that we heard described, where people going about their everyday lives, the shepherds, and then suddenly God breaks in to the ordinary. And maybe for you today, you've got some very ordinary things happening. And there's a moment where we can just pause and we can reflect that this God that we've been singing about, singing to, the author of the story, has broken into the story, has broken into history. And I love the passage with the shepherds, because it is just so ordinary. They're just there. The first thing the angel says to them, he says, don't be afraid. Well, you would be, wouldn't you? You'd be totally terrified. Don't be afraid is what he says. Don't be afraid, because I bring you good news, glad tidings, sometimes we hear it called, good news of great joy for all people. I love that phrase, for all people. Good news of great joy for all people. And it really is for all people. Really is for all people. This week we did an event in Home Coffee House, and we've got a brilliant coffee house here if you've not had a chance to visit. And we had some carols, a sing-along, we did requests, and it was just an amazing time. I shared a tiny bit of some of how I came to know God's story. And one of our senior officials in the council was there, and she said, I never knew that about you. I thought you kind of like grown up around this thing. Because I became a Jesus follower in my 20s. In fact, it's a few years ago now. So, yeah, let's not go into that. But in fact, one of the things, no, I'm not going to say that. Maybe I'll say that if there's time later. But this lady who's from the council, she's a lovely lady, she said, I never knew that about your story. This is a couple of years back now. I was, so I'm like Jim, I'm one of the pastors, like Tim, one of the pastors here, and Steve. I do this for a job. People say, well, you know, what do you do the rest of the week? You only work Sundays, you know. But we work for this church, and I was at a conference, and I don't know if you've ever had this kind of thing happen to you, and this guy comes up to me, so I'm just standing there like having a cup of tea or something like that, one of the breaks. This guy bounds up to me, and he's going, Kieran, I can't believe it's you. And I'm going, And I'm looking at him thinking, I have no idea who this bloke is. I have not got a Scooby-Doo who this man is. Clue, that is, rhyming slang. I've not got a clue who this guy is. He goes, Kieran, I can't believe it's you. Kieran, I can't believe it's you. I'm like, hey, hi. And do you know who it was? Trevor Ranger. Exactly. That's how I felt. Your reaction was my reaction, okay? He goes, it's me, it's Trevor. Who calls their kids Trevor these days? If anybody's pregnant here, listen, can I recommend the name Trevor to you? Do we have any Trevors in the house? You're probably not going to put your hand up at this point, are you? So he goes, it's Trevor Ranger. And I'm like, I've just no idea who it was. And then he said, don't you remember? And clearly, I think it was clear that I didn't. It turned out that Trevor Ranger was in my form, in my class, through my secondary school. And then the penny dropped, because it was a long time ago. Then the penny dropped, oh, it's Trevor Ranger. But he changed. He didn't look like a 15-year-old anymore. Like, not being funny, but like, some of his hair was gone. I looked at his head and I thought, who parted your hair? Moses? Parting of the Red Sea. It was an attempt at a joke. Anyway, I'm like, wow, Trevor, I wasn't a Christian when I was at school. I certainly had nothing to do with religion at all. And I didn't know that this guy, Trevor Ranger, was somebody that knew Jesus and loved Jesus. And he looks at me, and we're at this Christian conference. He goes, I can't believe it's you. And he said this to me. He said, you were the last person on planet Earth that I ever thought would become a friend and follower of Jesus. Wow. You might be sitting here today thinking, I am the last person on planet Earth who would ever become a friend and follower of Jesus. Hark the herald angels sing. What was the message the angel brought? The message the angel brought was this: I bring you glad tidings, good news of great joy for all people. Even people that Trevor Ranger thought would never become a Jesus follower. Even people like me and people like you. And I've been a Christian for a few years now, and I've had the privilege most of my time I spend with people that wouldn't call themselves religious, wouldn't call themselves Christians. They're curious. I mean, some of them are watching today, I know, online. They're curious and asking questions because there's something about this Christmas story that just draws us in. There's something about this Christ child that draws us in. And the message we bring is not ourselves. I'm not here to bring a message about myself. The message we bring is God and sinners reconciled. Christ, the everlasting Lord. Christ. Do you know, last year, I think it was last year, when I spoke at one of these carol services, I remember saying, look, I'm a Christian. Christ is central to that word Christian. Christ. And I said, look, I'm going to be honest. Jesus Christ has transformed my life over the last few years. I've been transformed by Christ. But Christian, it's two words. It's Christ and Ian. I said, I'm going to be honest. Ian's not done anything for me. I'm happy to stand on stage here and say, Christ has transformed my life. I'm sorry, Ian, you've not done anything for me. And then afterwards, we had like mince pies and hot chocolate and stuff, chatting to some friends. Guy comes up to me, holds his hands out, he's holding a mince pie. And I look at it, I said, oh, thanks. Take it. He said, my name's Ian. He says, you can't say Ian's never done anything for you now. Absolutely brilliant. I don't know if he's here. Christ by highest heaven adored. Christ, the everlasting Lord. You know, these shepherds, I don't know if you know this, they were outside of the social gatherings. They were outside the acceptable professions. They were outside of the in crowd. They were outsiders, not insiders. I don't know if you've ever felt like an outsider. You know, or trying to fit in. Maybe if you have the next car, the next house, maybe the right job, maybe the right clothes. Maybe if you think, you know, you can break free of, you know, some of the circumstances you're in, maybe that will help you. You know, you can feel sometimes, even if everybody thinks you're an insider, actually deep down inside, you can really feel like an outsider. You know, for those of you who know me, you know, slightly challenging background and growing up really affected how I saw myself. And, you know, bullied at school and bullied at home. And, you know, please, it's not a sob story. I'm just trying to put it in context. You know, this could be your journey. But there came a moment when some people told me about Christ, about Jesus. And I said, Jesus, you know, I want you to come into my story. I know you're offering me to be an insider, not an outsider. And he's offering that to you today. And it can be all sorts of insecurities. Look, I'm going to be really honest. Growing up, I was terribly insecure about my looks. You know, all the magazines, all the films, all the blokes were always really kind of really beefy and hunky, and I was just very thin. It didn't matter what I did, you know. Bought the bull worker, did the workouts. It did me good probably, but it didn't make any difference. Really insecure. And then I realized that this Emmanuel, this God with us, came to make us know that we're loved by God, to make me know that I'm loved by God. God and sinners reconciled. The disconnect I felt with myself, with others around me, with my family, with my community. Jesus came to put those things right. I mentioned Jack and Abby got married a few weeks ago, and Abby's from California, and we had the privilege of having the wedding here and then doing a kind of like an away leg out in California. And we went to this lovely little place, and I was waiting outside for my beautiful wife, Sarah, and I'm just standing there minding my own business. And this woman comes up to me, and she says, "Excuse me, are you a model?" Thank you. You're affirming everything that I believed about that statement. That is the confirmation I was looking for. So she comes up to me and says, "Excuse me, are you a model?" So I'm like, and I said, "No, I'm not." I said, "Thank you so much, but no, I'm not." And she said, "Well, you should be." And I said, "Thank you so much." And then I didn't know what to do. So I crossed the road even though I didn't want to cross the road, because I felt a little bit awkward. Jesus came, so if you're feeling like an outsider, he can say, "I've come to die on a cross, to rise again, to bring new life to you, so you can be 100% on the inside." And that's why, you see, since I've come to know Christ, and it isn't about self-image, but the offshoot of knowing my sins forgiven, the offshoot of realizing there's a God who heavens and who loves me, the offshoot is I'm happy in my own skin. Look, I'm not bothered that when I said I'm a model and everybody laughs, because I think it's funny. Listen, the only modeling I'm going to be doing is for like a fishing rod or possibly a pencil if I sharpen my head. You know, I've said this before, if I stick my tongue out, I look like a zip, honestly. I'm an insider. I'm happy in my own skin. And the way that we can find joy and peace is through this Christ child that has come to us. I'd like the band, if they would, to come back up. In a moment, they're going to perform just a beautiful song. And I would love us just to kind of reflect on that song. And I don't want you to think, oh, well, that's nice for you, Kieran. I'm glad it's worked out for you, Kieran. But I still feel rubbish. I still feel like there's stuff in my life that I need to sort out. Listen, when these guys are finished, I'm going to say, do you know what? Come with me. Let me introduce you to my friend Jesus. No, look, don't get me wrong. I've not got him in the cupboard out the back. I don't mean that, all right? That would just be weird. What I mean is, I'm going to say a prayer, and you can join in if you're watching online. You can join in with my prayer, which is going to be a prayer saying, do you know, Jesus, I want to be an insider, not an outsider with you. I want to be on the inside. Do you know, I have a beautiful daughter as well as a handsome son called Lucy. I don't know if she's here today. She might be coming later. But when my kids grew up in Scotland, when they were growing up, one of the things, because the sort of weirdo that I am, you know, they'd have their school bags and stuff like that, be going off to secondary school, and here's what I would do. I would plant stuff in their bags. So I would put things like a tin of polish and a duster, you know. Maybe a 4-pack of baked beans. I just try and push the envelope to see if they would notice, because they're like, oh, I'm late for school, we're putting the stuff in the bag, and then they would go off, and they'd get to school, and they'd open their bag and think, a duster and polish? My favorite one was this, though. I managed to sneak a breeze block into Lucy's school bag. If you don't know what a breeze block is, it's a large item used for building houses, and I managed to get that into a school bag. Listen, before these guys sing, what are you carrying that you want to tip out of your bag and leave with God? It might be shame. It might be guilt over things that you've done. It might be pain. Well, after these guys sing, I'm going to pray, and we're going to have an opportunity to say, God, you know, I want to do business with you.